Welcome back to Racing Across America Thursday morning, and very happy to be joined by Kendrick Carmouche. You see him out there on the racetrack every afternoon. Good morning, Kendrick.
Good morning, Seth. How are you?
Very good. I told you during the break I was down watching the Andy Serling radio show at the Parting Glass a couple of weeks ago. You were a guest, and I enjoyed it. I said, I got to have Kendrick on the show. Appreciate your stopping by, and we were talking a little bit before we went on the air. You're up here, obviously, in New York now, and at Saratoga. The family's in town as well. Everybody having a good time?
Oh, wonderful. We love it. You know, it's a little country just the way we like it, and, you know, I'm from Louisiana, and my wife from Virginia, so it pretty much fits in our category.
Nice. Talk a little bit about, you say from Louisiana, and I laughed when you were talking with Andy a couple of weeks ago, as I say, and you talked about your early days in the bush tracks and whatnot, and Andy's, what bush track, and you said, not quite legal, not quite illegal. Talk about those days.
Oh, man, it was very good. You know, my dad was a rider, and we pretty much grew up on the bush tracks, and it was just, it was where all friends and family met up to enjoy each other and bet races, and we all barbecued at the end of the day and just enjoyed each other, and it gave you an experience where you could have just relaxed around people and enjoy, and it really did have an effect on later in life what I'd done and made me a better person.
And you started as a kid, really, and so I'm guessing that gave you a lot of good experience to build on and go forward.
I mean, starting at 9, 10 years old, just running around with Dad at the bush tracks and learning what to say to each trainer to try to get the best mount of the day on every Sunday in Louisiana. It was amazing to me. I mean, it brought a lot of happiness to families and myself, and we learned so much. You grow off of those experiences in life.
And when did you start riding professionally?
I started. The day I turned 16 is the day I got my license at Delta Downs.
Remember your first winner?
My first winner was Earl and Aaron. It was for my own cousin. I'll never forget that day. I went like 3 or 4 races on the horse, and it was amazing. I mean, it just family, it was so good. I can remember it like yesterday, riding the race, my first race I ever win. And my dad was so happy. My mom was my agent. So it was all just one big family. It was a joy.
That's nice. And when did you make the move from Louisiana to Parks?
I ended up going to Sam Houston. I went to Shreveport for a month, wrote Louisiana Downs. Then I left Louisiana Downs because the agent called me to go to Sam Houston Park. And from Sam Houston Park, I stayed there for 2 months, done really good. John Service, that called me, and Randy Allen and Lisa Allen, they was a big part of it because they knew my mom and dad, so they say, get this bug rider up here, he can ride. His dad was a good rider. So it was in January, maybe 5 days before my birthday. I ended up going to Philadelphia because my parents always say never pass up on an opportunity, because you never know what it can lead to. So I ended up going to Philadelphia Park in the dead of winter. I'm a Cajun boy, so we don't see snow. It don't get below 35 in Louisiana.
There's no crawfish up there.
There's no crawfish. So I get up there, in the first week I get there, it snowed like a foot of snow, and I was crushed. I called Mom. You're gonna call Mama, not Daddy. Daddy gonna think you weak if you call him. So we called Mama, and Mama just said, it's an opportunity, don't forget about it. I say, okay, Mom, love you. Hung up the phone. Ever since then, I love the East Coast. The best part about it is nobody look at you for what color you are, in my mind. And ever since then, I've always been successful on the East Coast because, I always was very respectful and work hard. And I'm a good rider. I try hard. I do the best that I can for the horse that they put me on. So, that's the most important thing. Everybody need opportunity.
Certainly down at Parks, you were the guy you had to look at. We on the network, we do handicapping shows, and every once in a while Parks is in the mix. And while you were down there, if a Kendrick Carmouche was on a horse, you had to give it an extra couple of check marks. Now, what then made you decide, okay, it's time to head to bigger and better things and move to New York?
I always wanted to stay at Parks as long as I can to not only better my ride, but better me as a man, where I could have grown up, you
Sure.
know, because I was a young kid leaving my parents' house at 16. So, you know, I went through a lot of turns to get to where I'm at today. I work hard at parks. I got along with every trainer. I always smiled. I always rode good races. And and not only parks trainers, New York trainers supported my career at parks, Maryland, Penn National. Everywhere I went that wasn't in New York, they supported my career. So with them bringing good horses from New York for me to ride, it made me learn quicker to ride good horses. And everyone really did help me a lot as a rider, because I rode with older riders whenever I was coming up in the ranks at Philadelphia Park. And each year it changed with jockeys, so the jockeys started retiring, so I just started getting better and better and knowing the surfaces of racetracks at parks. And you know, it was all about maturity with me, to be honest, as a man, as a dad, as a husband, you know. And after so long being at parks, I felt I couldn't do any more to improve my riding, so I had to take the next step. It's not about being complacent in life. You always got to want more for yourself, your wife, your kids, to keep the generation getting better in my eyes. So I knew it would be hard, because my wife sacrificed a lot for me to be in New York, and my family still live in Delaware. So with that being said, I think that made me stronger by coming to New York and being successful in New York. That's all I had to do, was bring my traits from Philadelphia Park, work hard, always be the person that I am, be real to myself, and people understand you better, and they're gonna ride you, and be truthful about the races you ride. With that being said, it's all about opportunity in this game. And you know, so far they gave me a very good shot in New York to prove that I can ride with the riders in New York. I'm still waiting on the big opportunity, because I feel like I never set my hands on it yet, but I'm grasping for it, and that's what everybody should look for in life.
Yeah, certainly you have had plenty of success in New York, and Andy the other day when he had you on the radio show made the great point that you're a guy who kind of can recognize biases at the racetrack, and you talked about recognizing the surface at parks, and I wonder if that played into it, because certainly if as a rider you can be a step ahead of the other guys and kind of recognize the track changing during the day, that has got to play into your strategy as compared to the other guys. If you can have that little bit of an edge going into the race, is that something you've worked on?
Yes, yeah, I mean, that's number one rule whenever you paying attention to any racetrack, anywhere. I mean, I study everywhere, because you never know when a trainer gonna ship you to ride at Monmouth, Mountaineer, Parks, Penn National, Maryland. You got to know every surface of every racetrack. And when I tell you I do my homework, I do my homework. And when I'm in Saratoga, I pay attention to the guy scraping the track. I see how much water he put in the track. I see when he don't put water. See how far the rail out on the turf course, if you can sit the rail whenever the rail is far out or when it's all the way in. It's a lot of things that go into making yourself get to the winner's circle. So with that being said, in 3 years I've been in New York, this year is my most comfortable year that I can say in my heart that I can ride the tracks the way I want now.
And what I'm always curious when I have jockeys, what is your game plan going into a race day as far as preparing? I mean, do you pour over the past performances? Do you watch replays? Do you just play it by ear? What's the studying or the preparation you do for any given race day?
Well, I always like to do my work before I get to the jocks room, because I feel like every jockey do their homework, but I don't want them knowing that I'm doing my homework. It's a psychological game whenever you deal with all men in the jocks room. So I like to do all my work late at night so it can sink inside of my brain when I go to sleep. So the next day I just browse over it. If it's up to me, whenever I study, I always put the 4 horses or the 3 horses that got speed. I never worry about the horses behind me, because if I'm sitting fourth or fifth, I know who's behind me already. So I got to make sure I know how fast I'm going with the ones in front of me, and I know when to move, and because I know when they're gonna be able to stop. So I got to make sure I catch first run on the boys that's gonna be coming. So that's pretty much what I do, and I watch the riders that's on the horses. Once you know the riders that's on your horses, on the other horses, you pretty much know the indication of where everybody gonna be, because the jockeys in New York, they very smart because they rode a lot of good horses, okay? The jockeys in smaller tracks, they ride good horses, but they don't get the chances like the guys in New York. So it's a learning process. When you get the good horse, you got to know what to do with the good horse. You got to position him in the perfect spot that you can. You let the trainer understand what you study, and if they feel the same way as you, they're gonna go with your plan because it's a good plan. But if not, you got to go with the trainer and the owner plan, then go from there. It's all about compromising when you're in this game and having a team. Team always be successful at the end of the day. Any sport is a team. This sport here is a team. No matter if you don't look at it that way, I do, because that's the only way you can keep being successful in this game.
All right, let's take a look at a couple of rides and get some comments there. And you were talking about watching the horses ahead of you as you go down the backstretch or around the turns or whatever. But I want to go back to early in the meet. Look at a maiden special weight event here. Trouble for Skylar. There wasn't anybody behind you that day. You were on the front end all the way. Trouble for Skylar is going to be the number 1 horse here. Danny Gargan, Midwest Thoroughbreds. It's a first-time starter. How do you approach a first-time starter? From that aspect, I'm assuming you have to trust the trainer a little bit and the strategies they're going to toss out there.
Well, I always like getting on the first-time starters in the morning, because you can teach them your way. If you're going to ride that horse, you got to teach them your way and what you feel and the way you want them to go. And with that being said, Danny Gargan, a pretty straightforward guy with the way I ride his horses. He don't give me no instructions. He know I can get the job done. And that filly there, I worked her twice at Belmont, and I just knew from the time I got on her, I was like, Danny, this is a winner.
Okay.
And it proved that day that we was a winner.
So you were already familiar with her, and you knew that.
Yes, sir. I mean, that would be the key for 2-year-old, is to let the jockey work them if they gonna ride them, to get familiar with them.
Just looking here, the chart margin 8 lengths, so a nice front end win there. I wanted to pull up when they come under the wire here. We'll pull up going back to last November, because I want to ask you another jockey question. We're going to look at the marathon that was run on Breeders' Cup weekend out at Santa Anita last November. The winner here will be number 1 Scuba. It's a 1.75 miles, quite different from the sprint race there. Talk about the level of stamina you have to have, because we get a lot of folks when we're up here at Saratoga that are probably new to the game and brand new fans. You're not sitting on that saddle. You're standing in the stirrups with your toes in there the whole way around. 1.75 miles, how do you get prepped for that? And is it a chore to keep going at that distance over that length of time?
You know, it's totally different than riding a sprint race. You're gonna get tired sprinting because you ride, and you know you're trying to adjust to the pace factor, and you're trying to get your position. In a distance race, it's just sitting there, and the horse just taking you along, and you just got to make sure when you catch your breath, you catch it with the horse. That's my feeling of it. You know, you only got to ride from the 8-pole home with distant horses. When you're on the sprint, it's totally different, because you're jamming to get position, and you need position early where your horse can finish. Distant races is way easier on jockeys. We don't have to prep for that. Me personally, I like to ride even the further I go, because it just makes you feel like you're on a rocking chair. But whenever you're going short distances and horses running fast, you want to go into the turn with them. So with that being said, distance races are way easier than sprints.
All right, very good. Wanted to take a look at those two different sides of the coin and get some opinions. That's an interesting insight for a guy like me who clearly has never ridden a horse. I always like to get the jockeys and get kind of nuts and bolts of it. Kendrick, Carmouche, certainly nice start to the Saratoga meet. You had a nice Belmont meet as well. It's always fun to watch you out there riding on the track. We wish you a lot of good luck through the remainder of the meet.
Thank you very much.
Kendrick Carmouche, jockey here at Saratoga and the other New York Racing Association tracks. We'll take a break. When we come back, Elliot Walden, WinStar Farm.